Before we get started with this episode, we have a major favor to ask you.
If you could subscribe, like, and comment, especially with somebody that you'd love to see on the show, we would really appreciate that, and it would be amazing.
This helps us more than you know. In fact, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, and that is our goal, we are going to choose 2 of you to come to our very first Shoreline Show meetup with our team and our past guest.
And if you want more of the Shoreline Show, you can get on us on all the major audio podcast platforms.
Now, let's get on to the next episode. Well, hello and welcome back to this week's episode. I am so excited to be here, and it's probably very noticeable to all of you guys watching out there that it is just me. Rennie is on vacation, a very well-deserved vacation this week with his family. So we're bringing this to you with just myself today, and I'm so excited to share this message with you today. So I wanted to talk to you about what does it mean to know your worth. Have you ever felt like you were inadequate or that you didn't deserve to be in a room that you walked into? Like you shouldn't be there because maybe you felt like you didn't measure up to the other people were there, or that you didn't want to approach somebody about doing business with them because you didn't feel like you had enough skills or the right tools to be able to help that person get to where they need to be. And so you just didn't want to approach them. And that is an example of feeling like you don't have enough worth or there's not enough value that you can offer to people to get to where you need to go to build your business or to help them achieve what it is that they want to achieve. So it's really important that we figure out what our worth is and know what our worth is. And when I was coming up with what I wanted to share with you on this today, I was just, these are all my notes, and I'm thinking about, you know, as we're a teenager and we're going out and getting our first jobs, and, you know, maybe we get a job working at McDonald's or some other fast food place, and our worth is determined by what they offer us and pay. So they might be paying us $20 an hour to work there. Now, the young kids now are getting $20 an hour. When I got into the workforce, I was probably making around $3 an hour. So that's a big difference. But then I think about other industries. I think about lawyers in particular because I've dealt with lawyers in the line of work that I'm in, and lawyers know their worth. That's how they make their money, is they know their worth and they charge for their time. So when you call up a lawyer, that clock starts ticking and they keep track of how much time they're spending with you because you will get a bill for the amount of time that you spend with them. Doctors, the same thing. They have different things where they're time-based. The services that they perform are based on a time that it takes to perform them, and how many services, how many operations or procedures that they do determines how much they get paid. And then we all know public speakers. I have a great example of a public speaker that I hired at one point in time. I served as the president of the Women's Council of Realtors in Grand Rapids area. And I had the opportunity of hiring a public speaker to come in and speak not only to the Women's Council, but to lots of people in the Grand Rapids area. And some of you may know the name Barbara Corcoran. And what was really cool was going through that process. And I had really no idea when I started that venture of hiring a public speaker, what is their value? And at the time, I mean, this was several years ago now, she was charging at that point in time $50,000 to come and speak for 1 hour. Now, that's a woman that knows her worth. She knows what she is worth. And that wasn't the end of it. It wasn't just the $50,000. We had to pay for first class transportation, accommodations, her food, all of those things on top of it, to fly her here, get her to the venue, get her back to the airport, and then back home again. So that was a really big, large bill, in paying somebody for what they're worth. So how do we take all of that information and think about that for ourselves? What is our worth? What is my worth? Maybe you're a new real estate agent starting out. What is your worth? If you are a new real estate agent or anybody starting out in a new career, a sales type of job, selling insurance, working at a bank, whatever it is where you're, maybe you're a loan officer and you're selling mortgages, knowing what you're worth is a really, really big thing. And some of the things that you need to do to know that is to develop skills. And the more skills that you develop, the more your worth is. So I have a few examples of that. So before I got into real estate, my family owned a hair salon and I did hair for many years. And when I was doing that, obviously I'm getting paid for the services that I am performing. But during that time, what it really gave me an opportunity to learn is communication skills. I had to learn how to communicate with people. I had to learn to figure out, I had to talk with them to figure out what it is that they wanted. How did they want their haircut? What did they want it to look like? What did they want it to feel like? What color did they want? And if they said they wanted red, was it a warm red or did they want it to be like a really like a blue red, like really a cool shade? So figuring out those different things and then being able to take that information and make it happen. Those are very, very strong communication skills that I had to learn during that time. And it has benefited me greatly going into what it is that I do now. And even before what I do now, selling real estate, learning those communication skills. What is it when I met with a seller? What is most important to them? Yeah, they want to sell their house, but it's not just selling their house. What is their timeline? What is their motivation for selling their house? Are they motivated by selling it in the least amount of time possible because they want to get on to the next phase of their life? And if that's the case, that I need to know that because that's going to help me determine where we're going to price that. If they don't care how long it takes, they might want to price it at the top of the market. But if they want to sell quickly, they might want to price it way down at the bottom of the market to get it to move quickly. But here's the problem. If I don't know how to communicate with them to find that out, and we're talking about how to price their home, and I'm just motivated by, I want this place to sell quickly, which you shouldn't be motivated by that. You should be motivated by what is their best interest. But let's say I go in there and I say to them, hey, to get this house to sell quickly, we need to price it at X amount of dollars. But they're like, I don't want it to sell quickly. My motivation is just to sell it for the most amount of money possible. And I don't care if it takes a few extra months to do that. They're not going to be real happy with the price that I give them because I didn't communicate fully with them. So those communication skills are something that need to be developed in any business that you're in. Negotiation skills are another thing that needs to be learned if you're in any type of a sales industry, selling houses, selling printers, selling contracts for services that are going to be performed. You need to know how to negotiate with people. In our industry, in real estate, those negotiation skills are on all sides of the transaction. When I'm working with a buyer or a seller, I might be negotiating my commission with them. So I need to learn how to negotiate fairly so that they feel like they're winning and so that I feel like I'm winning. Then when an offer comes in on a property, or I'm writing an offer for a buyer and submitting it to a seller, learning how to negotiate through that transaction so that the buyer feels like they're getting a good deal, the seller feels like they're getting a good deal, and everybody wins. Those are huge skills that we need to learn. And as we learn those skills, our value goes up. And once our value goes up, we can charge more for our services. For me, some of the other skills that I've had to learn is building systems and tools. I built systems that make the business run smoother. I've been involved in building systems that automatically calculate commissions so that when we put everything into a database, that it just spits out the information and comes back. Now, the crazy thing is we had to hire somebody to actually write all that software. But the cool thing is working directly with that software company, giving them the information and telling them what exactly I wanted that system to be able to do. And then they could build that system so that it worked. And that was a huge accomplishment. But I think about building that and building that software system to do that. We do that on a smaller scale as well, building systems to be able to stay in front of our clients. As a real estate agent, you want to build systems so that as you have clients and you sell them houses, you want to stay in front of them so that you can get repeat business from them or get referrals from them. So building those systems on that level is something that you need to develop as well. So I know for myself, when I was developing all these different skills, and there's many, many more skills that I had to develop over time. One of the things that I struggled with, even when I was developing these skills and knowing what my worth was, is the whole element of fear. Because we can develop these skills, we can know what our worth is, but if we're afraid to use those skills, then you're not going to find any success. So one of the things that I learned early on is fear stops you. And what does fear really mean? And I went to a seminar one time, and at the seminar, we talked all about this. We talked about what fear really is and how fear stops us. And really, there's an acronym for it. And what I learned is fear stands for false evidence appearing real. So what does that mean? If I know my worth and I know I have these skills and I'm going to make a phone call to somebody to try to win them over and get their business, and I let fear stop me, it's because I'm afraid of something. What am I afraid of? Am I afraid that my skills aren't good enough? Am I afraid that they're going to reject me? Am I afraid that once I do talk to them and that they say that they want to do business with me, am I afraid that I'm going to fail them somehow, and so I'm letting that stop me? Those are all false things. I already know that I have the skills. I've built them. I've developed them, right? I already know that those skills can allow me to produce the results. So by letting fear get in the way, that first thing is false, because I've already know that I've developed those things. So false evidence. So I'm thinking in my mind that is evidence that I need to believe. But really, it's not evidence at all. It's false. So, and when I feel those things, when I see that false evidence, it appears to me as being real. False evidence appearing real. So how do I stop that? We just need to stop fear in its tracks. One of the things to get over that is just by taking a risk. And when you take that risk, sometimes you have to do some things that are going to give you that confidence to take the risk. One of the things that I've learned over the years is called conscious self-creation. Because fear is false evidence appearing real, it gets into your psyche, into your mindset. And you have to reprogram your brain to not believe that stuff, to not believe those fears, because fear is going to come knocking on the door every single day. So what we need to do every single day is we have to counteract that by something that I call conscious self-creation. And it's not just me calling it that, it's something that I've learned. So what we tell ourselves over and over and over again is what we are going to believe about ourselves. And if we're telling ourselves, oh, my skills aren't good enough, or I don't know enough about that, so I'm just not going to do anything about it. If we're telling ourselves that, it's going to stop us, and that's where the fear is going to come in. But if we tell ourselves a different story, if we start telling ourselves, I am a really good communicator. I know how to talk to people on a level that makes them feel comfortable. I know how to make them feel so comfortable with me that they want to work with me and they want me to do these services for them and for me to get paid. I am a master negotiator. I know how to make everybody in the transaction feel like they are winning. And I know how to negotiate a transaction to bring it all the way to the closing table so I can get paid. The seller is happy that they're selling the house and the buyer is happy that they're buying the house. I know how to build systems and tools that make my life easier. I know how to build systems to follow up with people and that gets people to call me back. If I tell myself these things all the time, what's going to happen? I'm not going to have fear any longer. And when I tell myself these things over and over again, it gives me a comfortability to be able to take on risk. And the more comfortable that I am in those things, the higher risk that I am comfortable in taking. So our next episode that we're going to be talking about is, what is your risk tolerance? So tune in next week to our next episode and find out, what is your risk tolerance, because I'll be sharing what mine is. Talk to you later.